Well, it's been 3 weeks since we spoke last, so it's good to see you all again, and I welcome you all to the UK Skype. And I am here with Peter, and Pierce is there too. Unfortunately, Gwen isn't. She is out doing some stuff, so she won't be joining us today. So I shall begin by passing the mic over to Peter, who is eager to share with you his experiences.
Hello everyone, nice to be back after 3 weeks. Although over the 3 weeks, dream experiences have seemed to have been a bit thin on the ground, but I've got one or two of what I think are of interest. The first one actually is an unusually long one for me, because they're normally fairly short ones, as you know. But this one seemed to go on and on. I'm amazingly sort of remembered most of it. Just to say, I think what I'll do on this occasion, I'm going to take my tip from what Duane said last time when he said that I ought to be trying to interpret these to some extent myself rather than just hand it over to him. So I'll spin out the dream first, and then I'll add my thoughts at the end, and then perhaps Duane would like to come in. Right, well, this dream seemed to take place in what appeared to be, I think it was France. It wasn't England. It was some strange, well, to me strange, I'd never been to France, but some big wide sort of boulevard sort of street thing like they seem to have, from what I've seen on TV anyway. But it was totally devoid of vehicles, motor vehicles that is, so there was no way of this sort of seeing what country it actually was, or number plates or anything. But it seemed completely empty, except for the fact there was this huge crowd of children, sort of, I don't know how old they were, 9, 10, something like that. And they seemed to be on some sort of, I think some sort of charity thing, or some sort of, they'd been taken out there for the day or something. And they were being led along by an old friend of mine, a girl called Priscilla, who's somebody I've known for about 50 years in my working career. And she's got her own little practice. We exchange clients and one thing and another. That's neither here nor there really. But she was leading all these children along, and I was right at the back, sort of bringing out the rear, but I couldn't keep up with them. Even though I seemed to have some sort of weird sort of thing. I think it was like a skateboard sort of thing I seemed to be on. It seemed rather laughable really. But even with that, I was getting left more and more behind, and eventually I sort of disappeared from sight. And the next thing I knew, I was in this sort of harbour area, the sea in front of me, and these sort of big stone walls, and there's no sign of them. So I was a bit sort of disconcerted about that, so I've been completely sort of lost them. And then the scene changed, and I seemed to be in this hotel room, 2 or 3 floors up. I looked out the window, and then I saw Priscilla walking along the street down below, and I sort of shouted to her and got her attention, and next thing I knew, we were in the lobby of what appeared to be this big fancy hotel. I don't know where it was, but and we were confronted. There seemed to be 2 other people with her by this time, 2 adults this time, a man and a woman who I didn't know, and we were walking across the lobby area of this hotel, and we were confronted by this sort of short staircase, a big very wide staircase, all plush red carpet. And we went up these stairs, and the next thing we were in this hotel room. It was a different one, I think, this time, but it seemed a lot bigger, and the 4 of us are in there. And then we were confronted by a huge dining table, which at that point was empty. But then the door opened, and a lot of, I suppose, waiters you'd call them, came in, hotel staff laden with food. They covered this table with all platters of food and all the rest of it. And we were sort of a bit taken aback by this, but they said we could, to tuck in kind of thing if we wanted to. So we started sort of putting things on plates and things. And then this couple came in, this sort of middle-aged couple, a man and his wife. And apparently it was their room and it was their food that they'd ordered. So, but they didn't seem bothered. They seemed extremely well off, these people. And the woman tried some of the food and she didn't like it. And then she said, "Oh, well, you might as well have it, and then we'll go and find another room." Well, I was a bit embarrassed by all this. I thought, well, it seemed a bit laughable, I suppose, but I reached into my pocket and stuffed a £20 note in the man's hand and said, "Well, for your trouble," kind of thing. And they just sort of disappeared. And then the next thing I knew, we were sitting down to eat, but the scene had changed. We were now what appeared to be a lobby again, but this time it was all full of, it was more like a restaurant. It was all full of tables, people eating at little, sort of small round tables and things. And we were sort of tucked away rather embarrassedly in a corner. And then I was aware there's a man standing there who apparently was the proprietor of the place, or the manager or whatever. It's obviously in charge. And he was standing there, it's still reminiscent of my other dream, my granddad a week or two ago. I was standing there just sort of staring at us and staring at me in particular with sort of deadpan face. And I get the impression was we shouldn't have been there kind of thing. What were we doing there? So I didn't speak a word, just sort of stood there deadpan. And that's when the dream ended. And I was sort of thinking about this afterwards. I could see I think three sort of what you might call leitmotifs that have sort of come up before, which Duane has explained to me. I think, well, one of them is obviously the going up to higher levels, going up the stairs, and also being up in the room and sort of calling down to the street, suggesting going up to a higher level. There was also one which may have not come up before, but that was going back to the beginning of the thing when I felt I was being left behind, which I have sort of feelings about that in connection with all this generally. Wonder if I'm being left behind and how I'm sort of doing with it all. But then suddenly being shown that I wasn't left behind at all, and I'd sort of caught up kind of thing by seeing her down in the street. And then the final thing, and perhaps the most poetic thing of all, was, of course, this man very much, he didn't look anything like my granddad, but he's in the same pose, basically, standing there with a deadpan face that Duane said could well be one of the guides, sort of saying, well, what's all this about? You've got to tell me about it, kind of thing, rather than me tell you all the time, which is what I've hoped to sort of do this last few minutes. So I'll stop waffling, and perhaps Duane would like to come in on this here now then, please.
Okay, yes, we're all going through a process here in creation, and yeah, that's you just take it a step at a time. You kind of pull little ideas from it. You know, the scene is there. Excuse me, I just got up here a little while ago. The like in a movie scene, they'll set like in a movie, they'll set up a whole big scene, and it's just maybe a couple of parts where the people are talking back and forth, but it's to give the backdrop. Today they use computers, which is a lot easier than building the scenes, etc. And so the scene is built for you in the other worlds so that you go through that. But there's basically one idea that goes through each one of them, etc. And so you kind of look over it. And this also... the hard part for me many times is that when people tell me their experiences, you know, if it's a personal thing, one-on-one, it's one thing. But when there's a crowd of people like there is now, because these experiences are also very personal, you see. And that is that sometimes, like in the beginning one, when you're kind of left behind, sometimes it's to where you're not paying attention. All right, that's kind of the hint. Is like, are you paying attention, you see? And then all of a sudden the next scene, you know, there's a part of you, a real side part of you, your real awareness recognizing, oh, gee, I got to just do something here. Okay, so the real you does something. It jumps into another scene, you see? So it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like being in New York and you're calling a taxi cab, and, you know, you call the cab, he stops, but someone else jumps into the cab, takes off with the cab. You miss that one, so you got to get another one, etc. And so this is how creation is. It goes back and forth. We've been taught to be literalized and indoctrinated according to a literal standard, where those that have created these standards doesn't apply to them because they just do it for the dumbed down masses. And so you do and see things according basically to that standard that you've been raised from with your parents and whatever. So you see things kind of along those lines. You see what I'm saying? And you know, we have been taught to be imaginative or especially intuitive. So as you're going through these scenes, what's so cool about what we're presenting here, Peter, is that This is really kind of like nothing before. It's similar, but it's not. It's not a spiritual path. It's not religion. It's not politics. It's not good, bad, or indifferent. It's learning to recognize how to become more aware through the process of creation. That's the reality of life. Not all these cliches and these stories and these sound good things and old wisdom that we went through. We went through that process to prompt us to get to this position now. So yes, as you're going through these scenes, this is part of your adventure to recognize these little spots. You take little parts, little jewels here and there, you see, and you're building you might say your kingdom of awareness. Okay, you're building where from there you can take off from that and you can become more aware. So these are the different parts, and again, yes, you want to learn to recognize these things, not just have an interpretation. You see? So there you go. You're on your way. That's the idea. Okay.
Right, okay, thanks for that. Interesting enough, I had a strange experience the other night. It wasn't actually a dream. I was in bed. Well, sort of early hours of the morning, I suppose. I tend to wake up early and early. I'm getting older, all this, but I was sort of laying there thinking about a lot of this stuff, and sort of going on from the same theme, really. That I was wondering if I was really sort of getting anywhere, if I was sort of being left behind, or would I not find out if I'm getting anywhere till I actually die, and then then it comes as a rude shock because I haven't done what I thought I'd done. And just as I was thinking along these lines, Gwen suddenly, who was fast asleep, rolled over and patted me on the shoulder. Sort of something that's never ever happened in 45 years of marriage, in bed or anywhere else. Come to that. And I thought that was rather odd. I wondered if that was a sort of a sign from a guide or something that yeah, you're not doing so bad after all, kind of thing. But obviously, still a long way to go. But
well, again, it's we all of us get these things. Yeah, here's the idea. In other words, for the most part, again, we've been raised a certain way. We've been raised in time and space, past, present, future. This is how our attention jumps around, which is understandable. But now we come to something that makes sense with the whole of life, and it's a big picture. It's really a big picture. It's like one of those long, long movies, and then they make more movies and more movies, and this is what we're in. We're in a big movie here in creation, and it's all about becoming more aware. It's waking up to recognize the isness that life is. And that's a whole lot. So in the meantime, we have these little experiences, and I understand I have this personal self too that I have to deal with. You have to deal with it because it is set up a particular way. It has its attitudes, its likes, its dislikes, and whatever. And it's like the old movie, The Taming of the Shrew. You tame this thing to where you get it focused. Your real awareness has a real focus, a real intent, and so you're having these little experiences along the way, little taps on the shoulder, little things like this or that. You know what? In a way, it does, but it almost doesn't. There's always two sides to things, that it does matter who it is or it doesn't matter who it is. Okay, so if it's Rebazar tapping you on the shoulder, well, that's great. We're excited. If it's the Kalam God, tapping you on the shoulder, well, again, that's maybe a little scary or whatever, but it's all part of the wake up because this is what's taking place in creation. You learn to see through these things for what they are. In other words, we've been raised with ideas, icons, authorities, restrictions, the idea of peace, love, hope, and all these things that we've been raised with. It's not that they're good, bad, or indifferent. They're choice. But what do they have to do with the true reality that life is? Just like the sun shining. What does anything on earth have to do with the sun shining? And more so than that, to recognize more so than that. So these little things that come along, it's all about your real awareness. So all these things add up to You decide how you are going to recognize this journey. You see, this is what's so cool about it, and that is that there's not a formula to it. Life is it's just like birds flying. They just fly. Okay, they have directions at time to where they're going, if they're going to look for bugs or grain or whatever it is, or they just want to go to the beach and find some water or whatever it is. But sometimes they just fly. This is how life is. And so again, getting through this indoctrination, this know-it-all stuff that we've been bombarded with, in other words, those that have created these systems, get people to think that they know something when they really don't. And it's not about knowing something. It's about recognizing the reality life is. So these little things, Peter, add up. And the best part is that when you learn to start recognizing these things, then instead of, just telling the experience and laying it out, you will already be seeing what you're going through. And from there, you will create a reference that makes sense, that connects to the true reality life is. Do you see? It's a lot more fun. Go ahead.
All right, okay. Another dream which I had over the last 3 weeks, quite a short one this time, more difficult ones I seem to have. But I can't actually understand it at all, really, what the point of it was, but it seemed so odd, I thought it was worth repeating. There's another street scene. Well, this time, I think it was in England. It doesn't really matter anyway. But it was a miserable rainy day, so it probably was in England. But I was walking along, and there's quite a lot of people about on this sort of raised section of the street. It seemed to be higher than the normal street down below, where the cars and everything were, sort of where there were shops and things. But there's a lot of people sort of milling about, and there's this little old lady, and there was no kind of barrier or anything to stop people falling over the edge. And this little old lady was sort of moving nearer and nearer to the edge. I was a bit concerned about her, and nobody else was taking the slightest bit of notice. And I saw her, it looked like she was just about to fall off, so I sort of leapt over to her and sort of grabbed her by the shoulders, and then we both sort of descended very slowly, like in slow motion, down to the level below where the cars and everything were, and nobody took a bit of notice. Anyone around took no notice whatsoever. There's loads of people there, and I just sort of strolled off in the rain, and up a certain sort of laughable part of it about it being that's in my mind. I had the Superman theme going through, and when I woke up with that on my mind and couldn't get rid of it for some time. I don't know what on earth that was about. I don't know if you've got any ideas.
What would your best guess be?
Well, I really don't know. Just let's say something to do with helping people. I don't know. That's,
Could it be the Queen of England setting up a scene to where she wants you to help her, and then she takes you down? I mean, could that be it? It could be anything, right?
Well, it wasn't the Queen. The Queen, I don't think. It's just some little old lady. I know I'm sure it wasn't the Queen.
Well, again, see, you've already said you don't know. So the thing is that, whoa, what would it be? What would it be? See, it's there. The hints are there. So you start to put it together. It's just like creating anything. You want to create a picture, or you want to build a house or whatever. It's like, oh, well, how am I going to do this? So how do you reference that? Okay, the best way to reference that, like building a house, how do people reference how they want their house? Well, they reference it according to their lifestyle, right? They're not building it for their neighbor. It's like, oh, Joni over there and Harry and whatever, they got a temple, so I'll build it like them because it's cool. But no, you're going to build it like you want it. So in this experience, it references you in some way. How does that reference you? It's not about the scene so much. How does it reference you? You see?
Well, the only thing I can think of is perhaps that just all the other people are like living sheep, and that we're sort of perhaps rather arrogantly feel we're in more of a minority, that we're sort of trying to become aware, and all these people aren't, and it's got totally disinterested in what's going on all around them, and that's the only sort of take I can get on it. But it seems a bit arrogant. That's the only thing.
Well, that's one way to look at it. There you go. So again, everybody else isn't paying attention. You are, you spot it, you're paying attention, you identify it, and you look at the scene and what you did in the scene. You see, and you see everybody else is oblivious to it. It's just like what we're presenting here. Most of the world is oblivious to it. They're not paying attention because they're chasing their own ideas and the marketed ideas that they're presented every day, etc. So yeah, it's learning to pay attention. So little by little, you're doing that. You're spotting things here and there. If it's helping somebody, or there's something going on there, or if it deals with a relationship in a past life or whatever, again, it's not the ideas so much, but it is recognizing what we're going through. So again, you're getting there you go. So you're getting the idea. It's not so much about the lady, but all of a sudden you're seeing that, yeah, other people aren't paying attention. Why aren't they paying attention? Because they're not aware enough, etc. So this gives you an objective view of paying attention and seeing the difference between paying attention and not paying attention. That's one way to look at it, but there's 1,000 ways to look at it.
Right, okay. Just one last point, really, just to sort of an update. I finally got that book about Wagner that you recommended, the Esoteric Music, and it's absolutely wonderful. I can see why you recommended it. It's quite astonishing, really. This woman wrote all this stuff years ago, and it's not just about Parsifal, but about all his operas from the Flying Dutchman onwards. His successful operas, which there's amazing esoteric elements in all of them, but gradually sort of increasing as time went on. And it just reminded me that a book I read years ago about Wagner, one of numerous ones, of course, it did ask the question which it wasn't able to answer, and it said, what happened to Wagner between completing Lohengrin and starting the Ring cycle? And I think we now know, don't we? Because this is what you're saying about the guides coming to him. Because there's this huge quantum leap between 1848, when he finished Lohengrin, and about 1853, when he started the music of Rheingold, the first part of the Ring. Is somewhat inexplicable, and so I think you could practically pinpoint the time when the guides approached him. Just out of interest, that's probably all I've got for this week. But so I'll say goodbye for now.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Let me just say that, yes, I read that book and other things. It's been, that was in the early 70s when I got a hold of that book. I forget where I got it, but it's really cool. It's really fun to read. The Esoteric Music of Richard Wagner. Yes, she did one on Beethoven in that, but Wagner's the prime star here from Mozart and Beethoven. Everybody enjoys certain music, but it's not about that. But there's something else. He was bringing it through his music at that time, and that's a fun adventure to go through and understand, because you get a lot of viewpoints from that. And the boys will contact certain individuals to see if they will move beyond their personal self, and the artists, the so-called musicians, or whatever you want to call them of today, most of them, they don't care. It's just for the public, and they just create things just to, it's just for their personal situation. And that's as far as it goes. That can be taken care of too, but at the same time, they're drowning the masses with nonsense and bombarding them subliminally. It's huge today, but that music and whatever, especially Lohengrin and Parsifal Fantasia, yeah, those are the Prelude to Act 1, the 9-minute one. That's the Ascension. Those are really cool. Those are fun to listen to. But you get an idea more so of history and what you've went through, etc. I watch a lot of things on Netflix and different stories, and there was one I watched recently about the Roman Empire and all the things that all the different rulers and leaders and all the things they've went through. And we have been through all these lifetimes of this stuff, being the authorities, being under the authorities, groveling through all these things to come to this point here to have this understanding. So this is a very fortunate time to still have these things, to be able to become more aware, because otherwise we'd be stuck with the systems that have been created and they are going nowhere. And so there's a much bigger picture here. I'll eventually write it out as a better understanding for people, but a little at a time. This is what I'm doing with the groups. But yeah, it's a huge leap. But you're doing it, Peter. You're taking the risk. That's what it takes. Take the risk to step into the unknown and just figure it out from there. This is what we're all about. Yes, thank you.